It's of an old boatman, so wide we say, who plied the canals most every day. One day he arrived at a narrow small lock, and it's upon the lockkeeper's door he did knock. Just then a fine young woman looked out. "Good morning, and what do you want?" she did shout. "I've a fine load of coal, and I cannot wait, and I'd love to come through, you're not a log game."
We left Reno on Tuesday the 20th and flew Continental Airlines to Gatwick via San Francisco and Houston. Gillian was an airline stewardess for Continental Micronesia, so we flew non-rev. And we upgraded to first class from Houston to Gatwick for $50 each. We boarded Ursula at Blue Lias on the Grand Union on Thursday and headed down the Oxford to Napton. We often had visitors for breakfast. After Napton, we cruised up the Oxford to Braunston. I'm sure there'll be many shots of the Horsley Ironwork bridges at Braunston Turn over the next 9 years. We pulled alongside Ivor Batchelor's boat for some coal. That's his wife getting ready with one of the sacks. On Sunday the 25th, we started cruising up the North Oxford. These are medieval ridge and furrow patterns in the fields. It was a sunny and crisp Monday morning as we descended the Hillmorton locks. There are 2 sets of single wide locks at Hillmorton. Just after leaving the locks, we had our first encounter with ice. In fact, we had to break ice for most of the day. We picked up a few groceries at Newbold-on-Avon, and it looks like this fella wants a handout. We then popped into the barley mow for lunch and a game of bar skittles. Pat's hitting me on the head with the cheese, just like Donna Fennick did with Peter in 1993. We moored up in Anstey on Monday evening and called on Jeff Dennison. He's an internet acquaintance. We bought a copy of his Songs of the Waterways. Then we had a few pints with him at the Anstey Social Club. On Tuesday we cruised from Anstey to Coventry. This is Hawkesbury Junction. We took a left at Hawkesbury Junction and went down the 5.5 mile Coventry arm. As you can see, it's not the most scenic of waterways. But there are a few things of interest other than rubbish. Surprisingly, the Coventry Basin was very clean and uncrowded. There was only one other narrowboat there. After we tied up, we went for a walk around town. This is an interesting area called Spon Street. S-P-O-N, Spon Street. It doesn't look like it in this photo, but we were iced in on Wednesday morning. I had to break the ice with a hammer before we could pull away. After leaving Coventry, we cruised up the Coventry Canal to Marston Junction and turned onto the Ashby Canal. This is the village of Burton Hastings. We moored up for the night not far from the village. On Thursday we cruised from Burton Hastings to Market Bosworth and had an excellent dinner at the Black Horse. Pat had rabbit and prunes and I had a rack of lamb. I just had to take a shot at Narrowboat Billy on the way there. We turned around on Friday morning and headed back down the Ashby to the aqueduct near the Battle of Bosworth moorings. Here I am explaining why Richard lost the battle. He couldn't get his lance underneath the aqueduct. On Friday night we once again moored up near Burton Hastings and then on Saturday cruised back down to Hawkesbury Junction. It was a chilly night. After dinner at the Greyhound, we got nice and cosy aboard Ursula. And our solid fuel Morso stove kept us warm and toasty. On Sunday we cruised back to Ashby and once again met up with Jeff Dennison and went to the social club. We also met Mike Woodin and his wife, two more internet acquaintances. The group of us downed quite a few pints of mild and bitter in the evening. We were definitely iced in on Monday morning, but we were in no hurry to leave our mooring and waited for another boat to break the ice for us. There was very little traffic on the canal and it was late morning before a boat came along. We could hear it cracking through the ice 15 minutes before we could see it. And while we waited we had great fun feeding the ducks. They would slip and slide on the ice as they landed and usually ended up on their rear ends. On Tuesday we had a lovely cruise through Old Oak Wood as we made our way from Hillmorton to Braunston. Before leaving Braunston on Wednesday morning we had a nice big fry-up breakfast. We ended up at Napton, fed the locals and then had dinner at the Folly Pie pub. Here are some more Napton locals. There was a fox hunt taking place while we were moored at the Folly Pie pub, so we sat around and watched them take off. We then had a leisurely cruise up the Oxford Canal on Thursday. On Friday the 6th we returned narrowboat Ursula to Blue Lias Marina and got her ready for the next owner. This is the newly built narrowboat Sarah's being craned out. She was being road hauled to Braunston for the annual ownership show. After we said farewell to Ursula, we drove to Braunston to attend the show. There were quite a few boats and the BBC was there to film all the action. In fact, Pat and I took one of them out so that they could do a shooting. This is Bill Surtees and Alan Hay. They're two of our other Ursula owners. Here's Pat chatting with one of the ownership staff. The lady in the blue sweater is Jed Hay, Alan's wife. She volunteers every year to help out with the cooking at the show. And finally, this is Alan Matthews. He is the owner of Ownerships. And here he is making a sale. After the show, we drove to Biggin Hill and spent a couple of days with Olive and Len. We flew home on Tuesday the 10th and the Continental staff at Gatwick kindly moved us up to first class on the Houston leg. You sure can't beat this non-rev travel.